I'm delighted to introduce you to Camilla Arthur, who's an absolute legend, and she's going to tell you all about her career and what she does now. So can you give her a warm welcome?
Thank you. Oh, my microphone's already on. How snazzy. Yes, I'm Camilla Arthur, and I'm a casting director. I am going to tell you a little bit about casting as a career, and then I'm going to tell you about my experience. The reason I say this is because I have never worked for another casting director, so I don't actually know how it's meant to be done. I don't know how other people do it. I just do it the way that seemed logical for me. So that's what I'll be telling you about. First of all, what is a casting director? A casting director basically is somebody who is responsible for providing the cast in a commercial, a movie, TV shows, stills, and fashion shows. Now, this is much more recent, the fashion element of this. When I started casting, it was very much old school, traditional, there were like 6 or 7 casting directors, and that was about it. And they were very trad, very, as I say, old school, and the industry was kind of staid. And then I rock up, and it all goes upside down. I started in the mid-90s, and shit, I keep forgetting I'm so old, it's horrifying. And what I'm going to do, there we are, I'm going to show you my show reel so that you can see what this is. It's a combination of commercials, few fashion film clips, and I've edited the whole lot together, obviously, to make a 2-minute show reel. So let's have a look, and then we'll go from there. Oopsie daisy. Justin. Oh, we're okay. Oopsie. Okay. Whew. I managed to operate that bit of machinery rather well. Yes, so there's my show reel. It's got a few archive jobs in there. Obviously, the Calvin Klein, you may remember, you may not. I'm actually going to show it to you in a minute in its entirety. But that is old school, like me. But then a lot of it is actually recent stuff, like the Ellen von Unworth Barbie stuff. That was VS magazine. Anyway, I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. So when I started doing it, as I say, I bust into this very traditional kind of setup. And I had come from a fashion background. I used to run the girls division at Models One, and then I represented fashion photographers, hair, makeup, stylists. I had an agency for quite a few years. In fact, it was myself, Camilla Lowther, and Kim Sion at Smile. We kind of rocked it a bit, didn't we, the three of us? And it was sort of a friendly rivalry, I'd say. Anyway, so yeah, I brought my fashion knowledge and clients into this old world, and I started to get more and more interest in fashion bookings and stills. I did loads of stuff for, well, UK Vogue, French Vogue, German Vogue, the lot. But when I started to do work for these German ad agencies who all had, whereas England you weren't allowed to advertise tobacco from I think 71 or something. In Germany, I think they only banned it in 99. And so up until then, you could do commercials and have stills, press ads in German magazines and TV. But the thing was that you couldn't use models who were under 25. And as you know, modelling, by the time you hit 25, you're way over the hilt. So, which is kind of awful, but anyway, it's just the way it is. So I had to look further afield. I didn't want to go to the acting agencies because, I mean, God, if you thought the industry was stayed, these guys were ghastly, and they still are, actually. I'm sorry if anyone happens to be an acting agent, forgive me, but I don't think you probably are, so we're okay. So I had to look elsewhere. And I get these briefs from Germany, like really cool kids having fun doing this, that, and the other, but they all had to be over 25. So I looked in my address book, and that's basically where street casting began. The reason it's called street casting is because I couldn't think what else to call it. And in fact, it's so weird because I've still got notebooks of mine where I've written street finds, street casting, because as I say, I didn't know what else to call it. Now, I don't know if you know, but the company's called streetcasting.com and shit. And I'm thinking, hold on a second, that's a really crappy term, and I came up with it. But anyway, so that's when street casting began. I started roping in my friends. And literally, watching TV was like watching my address book in motion. And basically, on there, AT&T, that's my best friend Judy. In fact, most of the archive stuff, Calvin Klein, full of all my mates. Kate Moss was my roommate. She moved into my house when she was 17. She arrived on the tube with a rucksack and Mario Sorrenti in tow, and left 6 years later in a limo with Johnny Depp, which is kind of mad. But yeah, I dragged her into the whole street casting thing, and everyone else. And in fact, while I'm talking about it, why don't I show you the Calvin Klein commercial? Okay, double hit. Do I have to hit this again?
If you want the next video.
Okay, no, not yet. Sorry, guys, you just didn't have to bear with me. So, yeah, as you can see, it was kind of fun. The maddest thing, I was in New York on a holiday. I'd gone for a week, and I got a phone call when I was in the cab on the way to the airport. And this guy goes, "Hi, is Camilla there?" And I'm like, "Yes." My American accent isn't great, so forgive me. And I said, "Yes, it's me." "Who's that?" "It's Calvin." I'm like, "Calvin who?" "Calvin Klein." I'm like, I mean, you know, hell, Calvin Klein on my phone. Anyway, he had heard about me and was doing a new campaign for this perfume he'd come up with, CK1. And he was doing it with Mizell, Stephen Mizell. And as I say, he'd heard about me and my casting, and someone had shown him one of my casting tapes, which, by the way, just like I was saying earlier, the difference between my casting and the trad casting is they used to do these really turgid casting tapes, you know, hideous lighting in hideous casting studios. I mean, really dicey. I used to do mine in a converted garage in northwest London. My husband, Mark Le Bon, who was a fashion photographer from the Face days, in fact he still shoots for ID a lot. You may know his son, my stepson, Tyrone Le Bon, who is badass and doing really well, which is very exciting, and I'm very proud of him. But yeah, so we used to do our castings in there, and it was just chaotic. It was crazy, but it was so much fun. We were like sort of enfant terrible of the casting world. But it's very important, and it still is for me, and I think it should be for all of you, that you enjoy your career, you enjoy your work as much as you can. If you're lucky enough not to have to just work purely for the cash in the closest factory or whatever else it may be, if you're lucky enough to be able to get into this industry of ours, then just have fun, because that's what's so great about it. It's so much fun. And let me give you an example of the fun we used to have. So I got a job for Haagen-Dazs. It was a commercial, and the commercial was being shot on a heat-sensitive camera, which, as you probably know now, because they're not that uncommon, the colours will change depending on your body heat. So I had to cast this wretched commercial by people's body temperature. Well, I mean, I don't know how hot somebody is. I mean, so it was pretty hideous to start with, because I didn't quite know how to go with this. And to make things worse, the brief was a couple mating out, full-on mating out, shot on a heat-sensitive camera. So I was having to get people to make out with strangers. First of all, I thought, okay, great, we'll get boyfriend and girlfriend, it'll be fine. But then it turned out that the boyfriend's body temperature was different from his girlfriend's. So I had to sort of mix, okay, we'll have that girlfriend mixed with that boyfriend, which is kind of a bit dicey. Anyway, by chance, the casting happened to fall on Valentine's Day. So I thought, great, well, we'll really go for gold. So I stayed up the whole of the night before sewing heart-shaped cushions in pink, and I made a love CD to get them in the mood. And I got to the casting suite early and decorated the whole thing with sort of hearts and cushions and the whole thing. And then I made these poor strangers get off with each other, basically, with me shooting it. It was so bizarre. Felt kind of like a pornographer. But anyway, this is the outcome, I think. This isn't. Hold on. This. So there you go. Help. Hit. Oops, there we go. So you can look at that while I just catch up with it. So what's kind of amazing about that, I haven't seen that Haagen-Dazs commercial for 15 years until Elizabeth found it for me yesterday, so we're very lucky. This is going to lead me on to a couple of other fairly hair-raising experiences that I had whilst casting. The next one Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the commercial, but was for a Heineken commercial. And you might remember it, I don't know, but it was called the Russian Ballet. And it was basically, do you remember it, Zoe? It was loads, 750 people all going to a Russian ballet, and they're all dressed up, and I can't remember what happened, but somebody drank a can of Heineken. Anyway, they sent me by myself to Czechoslovakia, where I was picked up in Prague, I think that's the right capital, and taken 3 hours out of the capital to this godforsaken tip of a town in God knows where, Czechoslovakia. And there was a hotel that was made in the 60s, and my casting suite was 3 floors underground. And I can't speak Czechoslovakian, no one can speak English. I had to cast this entire commercial of 750 people by myself in Czechoslovakian with 2 translators, and I was told that I had to cast it entirely from that town. And it just so happened that nobody in that town had a telephone. Not a mobile, not a landline, no telephones. So I had to get a team of cyclists going round, ringing on the doors of all these poor people, trying to lure them down. And I was stuck underground for 3 days, casting all these people. Can you imagine? It was hideous. I staggered home, looking a little bit worse for wear, but the commercial was genius and it won an award, so that was good. Do you remember on my show reel, there was the Levi's mermaid commercial with the guy swimming in the mermaids, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so when I had to cast that, it was rather like with the heat-sensitive camera. I had to ensure that the models could swim and look good underwater, hold their breath for long enough. And of course, you're not going to know that if they just walk into a casting suite. So I had to put on an oxygen tank. I was underwater for 10 hours casting. Okay, next please. Blub, 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 blub. I came out looking like a prune. It was horrifying. But anyway, so with all this fashion stuff that was coming into the casting world, came the editorial. Now, as you know, people do editorial not for the cash, because you don't get any cash doing it. You do it because you get the tear sheets. You do it because of the credit that will then get you the advertising work. It is so important to do editorial. And I'm about to show you a couple of recent editorial stories that I've done, I think. This is the Barbie story by Ellen von Unworth. It was in VS. As you can see, all the girls, all the models, had to move like Barbie dolls, which is kind of weird, but they do it actually very well. There's a magazine called Flaunt magazine in LA that's actually really cool. People don't really know about it outside LA, but it's a really good magazine. You should check it out. This is a story I did for them. This kid here, the dude with curlers, has got 1 blue eye and 1 brown eye, naturally, which is amazing. I mean, that's every casting director's dream, let me tell you. And actually, I found a couple of real freaks recently, which I'm about to show you. In fact, I'll show you right now. No, I won't show you right now. What I'm going to show you right now is quite interesting. It's actually the process. I'm going to show you a couple of commercial castings that I've done recently. I'm going to show you the actual casting of the guy that got it, and then I'll show you the end result, which was the commercial that he ended up being in. And actually, you know what, when I was telling you earlier about the shitty casting suites, I was thinking, hold on a second, this coming up is a shitty casting suite, so you'll see what I mean. Okay, so how does it play? Do I hit it twice? That's right. So this is the kid. The brief was, you'll be wondering what that chicken is, and I'll tell you in a minute. The brief was an Australian cameraman, and they kind of wanted me to get street casting, the real thing. So we did. We'd actually found actors, we got friends, and we got real Australian casting, cameramen in. And the story is that he has a chicken, and he devises this special camera that he attaches on his chicken's head, and it's wonderful, and it's called a Steadicam and God knows what. Anyway, it was for LG, which is a phone thing. So to get into the swing of things, like with my heart-shaped cushions, I was thinking, God, how am I going to get a chicken You know, I'm not going to find a chicken locally unless I find a sort of inner city farm, and I wasn't going to look for that. So I got this chicken, which is actually a hat. And I put Elizabeth in the hat many times, and she looks gorgeous in it. But this time I stuffed it with a sheet and stuck it on a pole. So that's what that is. Let me show you how it went.
G'day, I'm Dave. I'm a cameraman. I've been doing it all my life. It's an absolute passion of mine. But over the years, I've found some situations a bit difficult, whereby you're trying to get into a little hole, you're trying to get a nice high shot when you're filming a rugby game, and you just can't come up with a resolution. But then I found my best mate, Laura. Laura is an absolute godsend. Without her, my career would be finished. What I've done is I did a bit of research on everyone's favourite bird site, YouTube, and I came across this absolute gemstone. And what I've done is attach the camera to her head. And when I come across a situation where I can't actually get the shot myself, I'll send Laura up there, she'll do it for me. You're an absolute gem, Laura. Thanks, David. Without her, I'd be absolutely lost.
Sorry, what did you say a little bit now about the cabbage?
Okay.
Normally it's a bit wobbly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Alright. In our industry, you'll find some blokes who'll spend thousands, tens of thousands of pounds on these amazing lenses, stabilising equipment, all this sort of rubbish. All we've done is just attach the camera to her head. It's got a really small lens, but it's actually got quite a powerful zoom on it. And she's got such a powerful and strong neck herself that that's stabilising equipment. In doing so, I've saved myself thousands and thousands of pounds. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's basically it. You get the idea. And this is the end result.
Hi guys, I'm Dave, I'm a cameraman. I've been doing it professionally for some time now. I'm always trying to find new and exciting ways of improving my craft. Welcome to my little man cave. This is where I create some new rigs, some new systems, just try things out. It's a tell-step of it. Stable shot. The holy grail is to get that steady shot, that really stable picture. Then I came across this amazing clip on the internet.
I'll show you. Watch his head. Stay totally stationary. As I move his body.
Tried it on my own chicken Lizzie, and I was surprised. It actually did work. I came up with a number of different prototypes. And what I was looking for was something that was flexible, super lightweight, comfortable, and this one here sends full HD images directly to my laptop. Demonstration. The effect is amazing. The jobs have been coming in like crazy. I don't ever leave her at home anymore. She's even got her own gear now. Shots that I didn't even think were possible. She used to be a little bit afraid of heights, but not anymore. It's just the best thing that's ever happened to me.
So there you go. Did you hear the chicken when they were going down the waterfall going, I said, oh my God. But anyway, you'll be happy to know they didn't actually put the chicken through all of that, so it's okay. This is Heineken. It's the same kind of thing. I'm going to show you a bit from the casting, which was a tricky one. It was well, you'll see. I'm not even going to describe it. You're going to see the casting, then you'll see the real thing. Pretty funny, actually.
Right.
Okay, so to the camera, your name, your height, and your agent.
Hi, I'm Chris Dillon. I'm 6'2" and I'm from TCG Artist Management.
Cool. Let's have a profile of that side. You have to do this at the beginning of every casting. Lovely. Turning back down with a big old smile. Yay! And forward. Nice. Yeah. Have you done any commercials for computing products?
I haven't, no.
Excellent. Sorry, I looked at that. Okay, so, supermarket, and you're pushing the trolley, it's a Saturday morning, suddenly you're an expert. Oh, you're whizzing along. Really fast, going back on your right. Oh my God, you're wearing along this telephone bill. And you're like on a horse. There's a black knight coming towards you. Oh my gosh, where is your sword? And he turns into battle. Ooh. And there are a couple of lovely ladies in the boat beside you. And the sun is shining. Ah, that's more like it. Yay! This is the life. Driving in a car. You're wheeling down tunnel really fast. Oh my God. Platinum Stadium. Oh my God. What's just happened to me? You're pretty happy to see a race though. Whoa! Probably I want to do. And cut. Market. Nice. Looking around. That's good. And the next one. Whoa. Rearing along, pretty down past a bunch of dogs at the end of this bungalow. Whoa! On a horse. Oh my God, what are you wearing? Chain mail, for heaven's sake. And the black knight is coming towards you. Oh my goodness me. You're pretty hardcore. Okay. Ladies man. Very nice, thank you very much. This is more like it. Yay! Look at the ladies. And you're in the car, in the dark, going very fast down the mine shaft. Oh, wearing on. Oh my God, help! And right in the stadium. Oh my God, look around you. Whoa, relieved and happy and excited. What you've been through, you guys, you have no idea. And cut. Okay, so that was the casting. Now, you'll have heard by my ridiculous voice over there that I try and I talk them through their performance. Now, a lot of casting directors, I tell you, are really kind of snotty with the people, the actors, the models, whoever. You know, and I've seen this loads. They're really sort of like this, okay, come in, and so the poor actor or whoever is really scared and obviously doesn't do a very good performance. If you're encouraging and you help them and you do what I just did, then they actually do a good performance and they're happy and everyone's happy and it really works. If you want to do this as a job, make sure you take heed to that. This is the final result. Second one. So you'll recognise all those things that we were doing in the casting. I love that bit with Robin when he's going on and suddenly goes up. It's genius. Okay, so what I thought I'd do now is, as I've been telling you about street casting, I have started to build a database. Now, this database of people, are people that basically, I can't, by the way, walk down the street. I can't get a packet of cigarettes, which I'm afraid I do still smoke, so I'm sorry about that. But I can't actually go to the corner shop without spotting someone. I spend my life seriously jumping out of cabs, going, stop, and shit like that, because I see people everywhere. It's just my eye. I can't help it. And having done this for quite a long time, it's just, I cannot help it now. It's just, in fact, I'm looking here at the moment. No, don't worry, guys, you're safe. So I've been finding people, gathering them up. I've only been back in London for a year. I was in LA for the last 10 years doing this out there. But since I've been back, I have been building up this database of talent. Now, these people are not now models at the Camilla Arthur agency, because that's not how I roll. These guys are my private, sneaky, secret resource of talent when I get a job that requires street casting. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of them, my favorites actually. I think they're all amazing looking. So this first one is Ava Rode. She is 5'9", and beautiful. I mean, look, that is naturally blonde hair. She's one of those really kind of, she looks totally Scandinavian, but she's not. And I found her on, what was it, Golden Square. Yeah, we were having a coffee, Elizabeth and I, and she happened to walk by. So that's her, and beautiful. Then these two are identical twins. They are 5'8" and beautiful. Look, gorgeous. And they happen to be friends with my 20-year-old son. So that's how I found them. These two I found at a bar near where I live. They are identical twins again, 5'11". How amazing. And what's so great about all these people is they do not want to be models. They don't want to be models. They don't want to be actresses. They just are happy doing what they do, but they love doing this occasionally on the side for a bit of cash. I mean, why not? And it's great for me, because if these guys all want to be models, then I'm going to lose them. They're going to go off, join a model agency, and every other casting director is going to be able to book them. That's not what I want, so I keep them up my sleeve. In fact, normally I don't say what their surnames are. This chick, beautiful. You see, the great thing about street casting is that I don't care how old they are. It's not like a model agency where you're over the hilt at 25. You can be doing it when you're 125. Well, maybe not 125, but it doesn't matter. Age is irrelevant. So is height, which is great. And the reason height is irrelevant is because for commercials, you know, who cares? Unless the only time you have problems with height as a model is if you're doing double shots and the person you're with is much taller. You look better in the clothes if you're tall and skinny. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. But with the type of work that I do and with street casting, it just doesn't matter, which is great. But as it turns out, she's 5'11", and she's a dentist. So there you go. If you need your teeth done, lovely blue eyes you can stare at. It'll make the whole procedure a lot better. This is Conrad. Now, I don't know if you can see, but his right eye is a cat eye. He was born like that. Do you see? It's amazing. And I love that. If I find someone who rocks a look as good as he does, but that's got some quirky thing like that, oh my God, it's what I dream about. Fantastic. So this is Conrad. By the way, Conrad is a poet. Oh my God, I'm sorry, but it makes him even more gorgeous. I can't cope. This is Edwin. Edwin's got a killer hairdo, as you can see. Great face. He's genius, and he's a dancer, so he can throw himself upside down all over the shop. Actually, I wish I had a picture of this guy I've just recently found called Darren, who used to be with Cirque du Soleil, and I've got a picture of him standing on his head on the edge of his bath, shaving. No. On his head, without any hands, just shaving. Amazing. I should have bought it, but anyway, maybe another time. Now, this next guy is called Tino. I found him in Tesco's because I recently did a job for Selfridge's beauty department, and they wanted extreme looks. They wanted tattoos, beards, etc. I don't think they were kind of expecting this. What's so cool about him? Look, he's got the Michael Jackson BAD on his face. Genius. And he's got, on the other side of his face, he's got Salvador Dali on his face. Isn't that amazing? His whole body is covered. Anyway, I found him in Tesco's, which was a great success. This is the gorgeous Brett, who is so gorgeous, I can barely look at him. This is Hannah, who is 5'9" and so beautiful. I found her in LA, actually, walking downtown, and I just snagged her and put her in 1, 2, 3, 4 campaigns for Silver Jeans. She doesn't want to be a model, but how beautiful is she? And yeah, and she did a great service to Silver Jeans, let me tell you. This next guy I found 3 days ago in my local tattoo parlour. Believe me, he is so hot. This is Kat, who I've known actually since she was small and fat and 1 year old. And now look at her, just gorgeous. This dude, oh my God, it's too much. This is Johnny anyway. This is Candice. What's so great about Candice is I had a brief. I was doing a job for Thomas Wilde, you know, the designer, who in fact is Paula Thomas, but it's called Thomas Wilde. And she wanted me to find beautiful Chinese girls who were over 5'9", which, let me tell you, is not easy. In walked Candice. In fact, I bumped into her in a shopping mall. And yeah, she's beautiful. And then lastly, this next girl I also found with Selfridges in mind. It is hardcore. She has got her eye whites tattooed. That is a tattoo. On the side of her nose is a nose plug. She's got her ears pointy like what's his name? Mr. Spock. Yeah, Mr. Spock, you know, from what, Star Wars? No, what's it called? Thank you, Star Trek. She's got pointy ears, her tongue is split. Oh my God. And you can't really see, but she's got this thing called scarification, which is, do you see between her eyes, she's got this kind of teardrop. That is basically a scar. And the same here, coming down the side of her mouth, which is really weird. I mean, it's done, I suppose, to look like she's a vampire and she's been sucking blood or something. And she's completely covered in tattoos. Trouble is, she's done and got things like bands on her tattoo, on her body. So there was this big, revolting-looking person on her leg, and I said, "Who's that?" And she went, "Oh, it's this dude that I was really into when I was young." And I'm like, "Are you still?" And she went, "No." So, what are you going to do? Chop off your legs? She's in deep shit. But anyway, she's a really cute girl. But she's, I don't know what to say. Anyway, so that is the my favourite selection of street casting people. Zoe, what's the time? How am I doing?
22. Yeah, 22.
Oh, good. So, great. Because actually, I just run out. So what I think we'll do, if anyone's got any questions, let's do a bit of a Q&A. Yes?
Do you find the type of people you street cast very different in London to the type of sort of people you get in LA?
Brilliant question. That's such a good question. I'll tell you why. You know, people look the same around the world, but the big difference is in London, for example, when I was doing Calvin Klein, I went to a housing estate in sort of near Ladbroke Grove, and there was a group of guys standing around kind of trying to look hard. They were like 18, 17, 18, but one of them was beautiful and perfect for this job. But I went up, and he's standing there with all his mates, and so when I went up and said, you know, "I'm doing this job for Calvin Klein, do you want to model for it?" He felt obliged in front of his mates to go, "No, fuck off, I don't want to do it, yeah," you know, like that. So I then had to come from a different angle, and I went, "All right then, fine, if you don't want a couple of grand for a day's work, no problem." And then, of course, it's okay. It's not uncool to go, "Yeah, I want some cash." Whereas in LA, hell, they'll all do it, they'll fight you for it, and they don't care if they're paid or not, they just want to be famous. That's the difference. Here, maybe underneath they want to be famous, but they don't admit it. There, blatantly want to be famous. That's what it's all about. So, good question. Anyone else? Yes?
Just about Grace, because actually she's one of my friends. Have you seen,
Is she?
Yeah, have you seen any pictures of her before she got all that done? Because like, she only started pretty late.
Oh no, tell me, she's such a
like,
pretty
really
girl.
When she was like back in the day in Bristol, she's from Portsmouth, she said.
Yeah.
She had like a little bob, and she was wearing like tea dresses. She had
No.
Yeah, she's like really clean girl.
Because it's her boyfriend that invented that God, I wish he hadn't
We were all a
actually.
bit like,
Did she ask you beforehand?
When she's talking to me, Charlotte and Laura, we were just a bit like, but she won't be told. And it's Marilyn Manson on her left.
It's no, but there's someone, Marilyn Manson and someone else.
You've seen the Swan as well.
Did we see the Swan?
One
Probably,
like
yeah, well I've seen her in a knickers, so I probably have. That's amazing. She's a really lovely girl.
So nice.
And she nearly got it. She nearly got the job, but they just, Selfridges felt that a little bit extreme. I mean, I don't know how much work I can get for her, really, because it's pretty specialist.
Quite famous and something, like not famous, but like
Renowned.
Extreme she is, people it's like they follow her blog and stuff. And like
Yeah.
if I walk down the street with him, then people are like, oh my god, it's Grace Neutral.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, she's such a nice girl. Cool, we'll tell her that I've been telling everyone all about her. Come on.
Can I ask a quick question? Was street casting devised so that people wouldn't have to pay the massive advertising rates?
No. I mean, like I was saying, in a way, the reason I started doing it was initially because of the German cigarette jobs, because they had to find people over 25. And you know what, models, when they're over 25, tend to be sort of mumsy catalogue types. And so I didn't have anywhere to be able to find cool-looking people who were... And also, I can't remember whether it was a type of alcohol or what, but there's something else that you have to be over 30. And so I did need models who look cool and kind of pretty, but not model, obviously, because they're older. And so that was the original reason. And then I just realized, you know, you get so much more. And advertisers have now really hooked onto this whole thing about reality, not just reality TV, but the real thing. Like, I'm doing a job at the moment for Paper Chase, and it's got to be a big, sort of burly, starey dude who's buying a Mother's Day card. And then you see his mum, and he's like this. But they want us to find big, starey dudes with mums, you know, so they want the real thing. But actually, I do cheat, because I don't tell them. Because if I say to them, can we cheat, they'll feel obliged to say no, because the ad agency wants to feel that it's genuine. But I can know, and I will say to the guys, listen, if your mum's around, get your auntie. I mean, no one's going to know, so it doesn't really matter. But yes, and so is right, the money is obviously makes a big difference, because the model rates are going off the charts. It's actually too much, because it really is too much. And I'll tell you something else while I'm on a rant. The model agents now, when you ring up to book girls for editorial, so they're not doing it for the money, they're doing it for the pictures, and with great photographers, they now go, yes, well, is it a double or a single shot? And if it's a double shot, maybe it's a brilliantly worked out shot, and two people need to be in it to make the shot what it's going to be. But no, because it's a double, they don't want the double. I mean, oh. But anyway, sorry. My bête noire. Yes, come on, yes.
Being in the industry, what's your response to very young girls being brought into modelling? Because obviously you don't do it, which is great.
Yeah.
How do you feel as somebody in the industry about that?
Well, you see, it's weird, because remember, children have been used to advertise children's things. So kids are used, but what you're talking about, I think, is the model agencies, the main model agencies, using girls of what, 15, 14, 15? It's not a good idea. It really isn't. You know, the thing is, you know what it's like. You remember how you were when you were 15, 14, 15. You're very impressionable. And, you know, even when they're older and they go to Milan is the worst, I'm telling you, because those guys over there, whew, I mean, seriously, we had so many issues. I used to run the girls division, I said, at Models 1 a long time ago, and we had terrible times with these kind of playboy model agents in Milan. And so when the girls are really young, yeah, you worry about their safety. And things like dieting, I mean, it's an issue, you know, it is, because the fact remains that if you are too big, you're not going to work that much. So you have to say to girls, you know, be careful about your weight. but at the same time that does promote anorexia. So it's an issue, and I don't really know what the answer is. I mean, there are people who are naturally slim, and that's great, but then there are others that aren't, and you don't know that until they've either put on weight or, you know, it's a problem. And I disagree with having girls under. I mean, you need to finish your school, you know, because modelling is such a short career. What are you going to do then? And actually, I will tell you what this is just by the by, but I used to say to all models when they're starting out that enjoy it, do what you can, make as much money as you can, but all along, be looking around you at other jobs within the industry that you're working, and talk to people, talk to photographers, talk to fashion editors, because when you hit 25, there's a good chance that your modelling career is going to be over. So if you have paid attention and you're interested, hell, go for it. So that, yeah, good question.
All I was going to say is, how big is your team? How big is the team?
Yes, it's myself, the lovely Elizabeth over there, and Tracy Hunter. So that's 3 of us, but there are times when I do have to bring in other people, actually. Especially, I mean, we used to have this big team that I would use specifically for street cast scouting. We used to go to Glastonbury, and I had T-shirts. You know Maharishi, the clothing company? Well, Maharishi started in my kitchen. Hardy was my roommate, and so he did a whole mini collection with. I used to be married to Mark Le Bon, so my name was Camilla Arthur Le Bon, C-A-L, and we used to have all these T-shirts which had cowgirls, like call girls, boom boom, and we used to literally comb Glastonbury. I'd have a team of like 15 girls and just combing the entire, as you can imagine, took a while, but we found some great people, so it's worth doing. Yes?
And when you discover all those great individual characters, aren't you scared that maybe one day a very big model agency comes up and then takes those girls away and kind of shapes them to what they want them to be?
Well, like I said, almost all of these guys don't really want to be models. They've got their careers, they're happy doing what they're doing. If somebody wants to be a model, that's fine, I'll take them to the model agency. They can give me a kickback. Out of interest, I'll just tell you a last little throwaway. When I was casting a long time ago, when I was doing all those Levi's commercials and stuff, I met a guy who was at art college called Sacha Baron Cohen, and he was really funny and really nice. I used to get him in for all my castings, and he decided he wanted to be an actor, so I took him along to an agency and got him going. Oh my God. And then Borat and Ali G, and yeah, that was him. And the other one was Jason Statham. He was a high diver when I used to. In fact, that Smirnoff commercial that I played, Jason was in that. He was a high diver at the time. So there you go. Anyway, thank you so much, guys, for listening to me.